So this is my reflection video for IEP meetings. So the meetings where we would go over the multidisciplinary reports, following all of the assessments and observations, all that data for the IEP meetings for initials and triennials. This was my favorite, I think, part of my practicum experience. I partook in probably 15 actual IEPs where I presented some material or a section of the report. It always started with the school psychologist presenting the purpose of the meeting, stating the objectives of the meeting, and then it would move on to some of the background information where we would cover everything that we had gathered and clarifying with the parents involved whether the information was correct, if there was any other new updates or things to add or clarify. So after that, it was pretty straightforward. We would move straight through the cognitive assessment data, typically first, unless there was speech data. And the speech pathologist would go through their data first. So typically, we'd start with the general cognitive measures. For us, that was most often the KABC, which I got to do a lot of testing on, and then we would move to some of the more specific tests after that, like processing tests, memory tests, and stuff like that. So like typically start with KBC, then we would go to the CTOP, then the RAML for memory, the BRE VMI. Those were kind of the brunt. Those four tests were kind of mostly what we did. And a lot of times we would also do nonverbal tests of intelligence like the Tony. And I really enjoyed that whole process. My supervisor gave me a lot of opportunity to actually talk about the test results. And a lot of that could be high level, and we would give the floor to the parents to ask questions as we went along, because a lot of that could be, a bit overladen with psychological jargon. So, but it was definitely tense at times too. I felt the stress, anticipating the reactions from the parents. And sometimes I wasn't able to predict how they would take it, and it went way better than I thought. And sometimes it went way worse than I thought. But most often, the parents seemed to take it very well. Like especially in a case where I knew a parent was very upset about the way their kid was doing in school, and they thought the school was resisting giving a disability diagnosis. Just fumbling on the word, but she thought he had dysgraphia, and all of our tests couldn't significantly conclude whether that was the case, and so we thought it was going to be a bit of a power struggle there. And the parent actually ended up taking it very well, and they were in fact relieved that we felt that their kid wasn't exhibiting a huge learning disability at the present time. So it was a rewarding experience to get to reassure parents, also get to talk through some high level things with them and help them bring it down to a little bit more of a digestible level, feeling that they could demystify the whole experience of their child struggling in school. So I really enjoyed that. And I also enjoyed hearing the other staff speak, especially the ed specialists. They had a ton of experience, it seemed, with working with parents and how to talk through assessment data in a way that I took a lot of notes on, and I'll try to model in my own demeanor going forward. So after we would go through all the data. Then we basically would move to the part of the IEP where we would ask the parent if they were willing to accept an IEP if we felt that the child deserved a designation of a learning disability. If they agreed to, then we would immediately jump into IEP goals, and the ed specialist would kind of take over, and they would start formulating the goals right then and there, going into SACE and dropping down some different goals. And there were some built-in measures of what the goal was based on their baseline performance. So it was a very seamless experience, and I felt like it was great seeing how technology is being utilized for these things, so that it's very data-based, very concrete in what we're looking at. So overall, felt it was a very productive experience for myself, and happy that the educational system is working in this way. And I look forward to doing it more.